Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for braving the really cold weather here today. We're really grateful that you stayed around for the last session of the conference. I'm Alex Jefferies. I'm the project manager for the From the Ground Up project, and I've got the pleasure of moderating our panel discussion today with our farmer leaders from the Ground Up project and one of our researchers, Dr. Kumaran. Before I introduce them, I'm going to give you a really quick overview of the From the Ground Up project. So we're a farmer-led project across Ohio and Missouri as well. We're funded by the USDA for a 5-year project. And our farmer leaders are partnering with researchers at Central State University, Ohio State University, and in Missouri, the University of Missouri and Lincoln University of Missouri. And they're partnering to improve the performance of conservation practices, to make them work better on real-life working farms, to better generate the outcomes that farmers need, and therefore, eventually, hopefully, increase the number of farmers using conservation practices. So there's a gap in current how research is done, and there's been lots of investment and research into conservation practices over the years, but there's still fairly few farmers actually using conservation practices across the Midwest. And that's not because farmers don't care about conservation practices or that they haven't heard of these conservation practices, but it's often because they don't actually perform how the farmers need the conservation practices to perform. They don't generate the outcomes that farmers need. So this project we're trying to change that by putting farmers at the forefront of the research in developing the conservation solutions. So the farmers in this project are meeting in groups to decide the conservation practices that they want to try out on their farms. They're generating the research protocols. And the job of the staff and the scientists on this project are to support the farmers in that role, to provide them with the data, to give them advice that they need, but it's the farmers making the decisions about the research. So we've got 5 groups of farmers in Ohio, and you're going to hear from one of those groups today, and 4 groups in Missouri. And they're a really wide range of farmers and farm types. We've got large corn and soybean growers, dairy farmers, cattle grazers, small ruminant grazers, and of course our specialty crop vegetable producers as well. But I've taken too long to give you an overview, and I really want to hand over to the most important people here today, our farmer leaders. And before I start our questions, I'll just ask each of you to give a brief introduction to yourself and a little bit about your farm. Tia, can we start with you?
Sure. My name is Tia Stewart. I'm representing Restoration Family Co-op, which is a 9.5-acre farm in Trotwood. We grow fruits, vegetables, herbs, flowers, and we also raise poultry. We also have incubation on our farm, and we're part of the From the Ground Up project. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm Sharifa Tomlinson. I represent Our Rock Farm and Urban Sanctuary. We're located in Riverside, Ohio. We're a 12-acre area urban farm that practices agroforestry, specialty crops. We also do poultry, and we have a high tunnel.
And Donnie is our leader for this group, and she also sits on the management team for the project.
Yes, I'm Donnie Boykin. My farm is Indigo's Herbals and Organics, located out in Trotwood. I grow anything that has a seed. Let's talk about it. That's me. So, yes, anything, tomatoes, greens, lettuce, okra, the whole 9. But then also as a part of being in the wonderful incubator program that Central State did with the city of Trotwood. I'm also the farm manager for that, but then I'm also the founder of the 7 Seed Sowers Co-op, which was born as a result of us all participating in that wonderful program and really wanting to provide, just extra stability to our farmers that were coming out of the incubator groups. We had a lot of people that were coming out to join the program because COVID had everybody locked up. And so everybody wanted to learn how to grow food. Well, the wonderful thing about being a farmer, as most of you know, it takes longer than a year. Seven Seed Stores Co-op was born to help support those farmers that were coming out that literally had never grown anything before and just, got swallowed up by agriculture and just loved it so much. So that's who I am. And I'm going to stop talking because I will keep going.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Sakti Kumaran. I'm a research associate professor of soil sciences and agronomy at Central State University. I'm not a farmer, but I grew up around farms, and I love farmers, all represented here. So my research has been focused on soil health and water quality. I'm trying to look at the different agricultural management practices that are followed in the farms and how that improves soil, how we can sustain the soil, how we can sustain the agricultural productivity, and how we can also protect the resources that we have around us that are really important for our lives, including our water. Well, thank you for this opportunity.
Hello, my name is Michelle Merritt. I'm here from Hamilton, Ohio. We operate a community garden / farm in the city of Hamilton. We grow fruits and vegetables there. We sit on approximately 1.83 acres of land. We have a high tunnel in which we're able to extend our growing season. We have raised beds as well as a row and hoe area. We have been in existence. The founder created the garden in 2012. I've been involved with them since 2016, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And I mentioned in my introduction that each of the farmer groups decided themselves what they wanted to research. So can you tell us, what is this node researching? Donnie, I'll start with you.
Sure. So one of our main concerns, I want to say, was how can we protect our soil? How can we, help with like water retention? And so everyone was like, well, we kind of wanted to do cover crops. And, so as a result, we all sat down, decided what type of cover crop we wanted to do. We're doing like a winter kill because that makes it a lot more efficient and easier for all of our participants. But yeah, our main goal was, how is this cover crop going to affect our production long term? How is this going to help the soil? How is this going to actually help with our yields? Like that kind of was the game plan for, I know, am I missing something?
No, that's perfect. And turning to this side, how was it working in a group to come up with that? How did you come together as a group to decide what you wanted to research?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to say that in our region, we are very connected. So like in the Dayton area, and then Miss Michelle, she's a little bit outside of it, but it was very easy to bring her into the fold. We're so happy that she's part of the group. So we work together all the time, so fairly simple to just do things that we were already doing. So that was the idea. Like a lot of us already use cover crops, and all of us grow vegetables, so let's just do what we're already doing. So it wasn't very difficult at all.
Wonderful. Ms. Sharifa, anything to add?
We just came together to just decide what kind of crops we're going to grow. And so, but that was really easy too. That's about it. Yeah.
And Ms. Michelle, anything to add on what you were hoping that you'd really get out of this when you started the research?
So I met Donetta approximately 3 years ago. We were in an online class together. And after that, we connected and started talking about our projects that we've been working on at our respective farms. And Donetta told me about From the Ground Up, and they've all been welcoming. We have used cover crop before at our garden / farm. I have to get used to, we're transitioning into completely operating as a farm rather than a community garden. But we have used cover crop there before, and we hope to get better yields from our produce that we're growing at the farm, as well as to make sure that the food that we grow is quality and healthy food, as well as healthy soil.
Brilliant. And Dr. Kumaran, we spoke about the farmers are the leaders on this project, but obviously they're working hand in hand with the staff and researchers on this project. So what exactly is the role of the researchers of the project? How are you supporting the farmers?
So yeah, that's the uniqueness about this project. I've been on research projects before. I've had on-farm research projects, but this is very different and unique in the sense that this is farmer-led, right? You pointed out that, and Alex also mentioned about the gap in how research is conducted, and we wanted to address that gap, and we wanted it to be a farmer-led research. So I would say, if I have to pick a word to describe my relationship as a researcher with the farmers, is that we're going to be alongsiders of the farmer leadership team. So we're going to come alongside of them as they are doing their own thing, because Tia mentioned that, right? They've been implementing cover crops in their farms. As a researcher, we want to come alongside of them, and so we serve that role of an alongsider and co-learner. It's not just us as researchers giving the knowledge back to the farmers and to the community, but also learn from them, right? And see what are some of the day-to-day challenges that they're facing. And that's been something missing, over the years. I think we are trying to fill that gap with the project that we're on right now, right? So we also document data sets, right? We go out and collect samples from the farms, bring it to our labs and process them and analyze them, or if we have to send it to a commercial lab for it to get tested, we do that as well. We interpret the data, and we also communicate the results. We had a meeting recently with this group. We brainstormed some ideas, and we talked about the different test results that we've gotten from all of these farms, what is making sense, what's going on here, and all of that. That's, I think, kind of the role that we play as a researcher on this project.
And Dr. Kumaran, you spoke about the day-to-day challenges that farmers are facing. And so I wanted to ask the group, what challenges, we're just over a year and a half into this so far, what kind of challenges have you faced so far on the farming side and on doing a research project?
I'll start. So for us, with my farm, this is extended farm for me. So I don't live at this farm. And my farm manager didn't quite understand the project. So when he would harvest, we were supposed to weigh this produce, and he would harvest, and maybe some produce got shipped out without being weighed, or maybe some produce got put on the farm stand without, or mixed in with other areas of the same type of produce. And, so that was a challenge to, later on I'd be like, well, where's this? And he's like, oh, I didn't know that was part of that thing. I'm sorry about that. And then maybe we would have some of our other team members come in to harvest, and they didn't understand. So it wasn't only our farm manager, but also crew members. So we don't have records this year from 2025, but the coming year should be better.
I think with our farm, we planted everything in a high tunnel.
Yeah.
And this was our really first time planting everything in the high tunnel.
Okay.
So we didn't know how much water we're going to need, what we're supposed to do, how to, just different things. So we had a big curve, learning how to grow in a high tunnel and then being part of this study.
Yeah.
So I think, like Tia said, next year we have it down pat. Last year, no, there were no real records or anything.
Lots of lessons learned
right.
for 2026.
Right. And the other thing is we were using tomatoes as a crop, and our crop came in way later than everybody else, too, which is really strange. We had green tomatoes still in, October. I mean, it was really ridiculous.
If Tia and David came over and helped us get off our roost and get those plants in the ground.
Right.
And then once they're in the ground, then it was ground cover for us. We did not stake them up, tie them up, or anything else. But the tomatoes came in all over. They spread. It wasn't just the plants, Yeah. So it was pretty awesome. But so many changes that we'll do for next year. As far as collecting them, for one, the type of tomatoes they'd all get ripe at once, and then there wouldn't be any for a minute, and then they'd get ripe again, and then you'd have thousands of tomatoes that we should have gotten out, but we just had our family and personal friends, and they weren't getting out as quickly as we could have gotten out. recently. They were great heirloom tomatoes too. Well, that's all I have to say.
No, thank you for your input. Thank you. Donnie and Michelle, thinking about challenges as well, but also what opportunities has this project brought you this year as well? So challenges and opportunities.
Okay. Well, first, I want to say too, of our group, we have, I feel like, a very interesting mix of farms in our group. We have one farmer that is actually being brought on here in a few weeks. That's down in Hamilton. They do raised beds. So a lot of their information is going to come from literally cover crops and raised beds, challenges, pros and cons. Then we also have 3 smaller micro farmers that are all growing at the incubator site out in Trotwood. Since we're all kind of on the same space, we thought it would be really interesting to be able to compare and contrast what's going on those 3 farms to see if we're getting the same data. Then we have Miss Tia, Miss Sharif. Wait a minute, let me back up. Miss Sharif is growing in the greenhouse. So we have our farmer that is doing predominantly greenhouse production. You're going to get your numbers from that. Then we have Miss Tia and Miss Michelle over here that are growing on much larger spaces. So we do have, I just wanted to throw that out there because we kind of left out. We have a couple more people that ain't here. But we do have a very good blend, I feel like, from all of the farmers that we have in our group, so that our data should be very interesting to see like what the outcome is. Now, my personal pros and cons, I will say I kind of had the experience that I think I was expecting to some degree or another, that I think I've heard other farmers talk about, which is they use the cover crop and then they're like, well, what happened? I didn't get the same yield that I got the year before. And so when we did this 1 year, I was like, holy crap, I get it. I literally harvested like, 10%? It's not right. Yeah, 10% of the amount of tomatoes in the field with the cover crop or in the bed with the cover crop versus the one that didn't have one. So as a farmer, of course, if I'm thinking about using a cover crop, I'm not going to cover crop my whole field because now I have to worry about a lower yield. That's hurting my pockets. So now we're trying to figure out like, okay, how is this going to balance out? Well, then having wonderful Sakti over here, he's giving us the breakdown of what's going on with our soil. So we had a whole conversation with him and he's like, oh, I can see what the problem is. It's because you're missing blah, 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 blah. These following nutrients you don't have in your soil. So then how are you expecting things to grow? So yeah, now we're like, oh, that makes sense why we put the cover crop down on this side and we only got like 5 tomatoes versus over here where we got like, 200 pounds of tomatoes. It was literally that huge of a difference in what we were seeing. So yeah, I think this is going to be like amazing. I love having our scientist here with us because he can give us all of the bits and pieces. I'm okay. Secret nerd, closet nerd. Stop it. I had a worm farm at 9. Okay. And have you seen the guy on the internet that says he likes rocks? Have you seen him? He's like, oh, I like rocks. And he carries them in his. I was keeping rocks too at 7, 8, 9. Okay. So with that being said, having him there, he gives me like all the details that I needed to know, that I didn't know I needed to know. And I can then turn and say, oh, okay, now I understand why things aren't going the correct way. Because we're missing, when I tell you he gave us a breakdown and I was shocked at what we were missing everything. So it makes sense. What was the other question?
What opportunities have there been from the project?
Okay. Opportunities. So opportunities that have come as a result of this project. A lot of it is more knowledge and just experience with other people. People will share what they know. Like we have farmers. We did the all hands meeting. All hands meeting. We're talking to farmers that aren't even doing specialty crops, and they're like, "Hey, did you know that you can just burn them?" And I was like, shut up, give me a flamethrower, But so we get a lot of information from our farmers. They come out, they're willing to share, they're willing to help. It builds community. 99.7%, I feel like, of why farmers that start off kind of quit is because they don't have the support that they need. So we're getting support. You might do it wrong. We don't care if you did it wrong. We'll figure out how to do it right next time. That's really kind of the sharing of this group. When they asked me to be the lead on this, they were like, you got to find some people. And so I just like literally sent out a broadcast to everyone that is in our Dayton, you know. And so when the farmers that you see that are participating, those are the ones that showed up. And I feel like we got a great mix of people. Everyone that came is the people that are supposed to be here. And we're just enjoying being a part of the project and everything that we're learning.
That's wonderful. Ms. Michelle, on your side.
Some of the challenges that we faced were weather, the heat, and then a lot of rain. So, that impacted our ability to grow well. Also, I had students. I had a lot of students there. Some of what Tia experienced in terms of harvesting and not always weighing what they were supposed to weigh, and just kind of technicalities like that were challenges that we had to overcome. I think going into this new season, we'll be better managed in harvesting and making sure that we're tracking the right vegetables as part of this project and weighing it so that we have accurate numbers. Some of the opportunities is like Donetta said, is having the scientists, because chemistry is not something that I was interested in at all. So I definitely appreciate having the scientists there to say, hey, you're missing this nutrient, or if you amend your soil by, adding this or that, and it'll help your yield. So that's one of the opportunities that has been pleasant.
Thank you, Ms. Michelle. And Dr. Kumaran, Donnie spoke a little bit about the variation between the different farms that we have on this project, but what other challenges are there for this farmer-led on-farm research that you see as a researcher, but also, again, the opportunities of that?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Donnie and Michelle, for those kind words. I do appreciate that, but I just have to say that I'm a lifetime learner, and I am learning from them as much as I am giving them input on some of the things. I don't have answers for all of the questions that we have in front of us. That's something, as a researcher, I always have to go back to the drawing board and see, okay, these are the questions that we still have lingering or unanswered questions that I'll try and answer through my research, right? So, so this project in particular, this being farmer-led, it's so different and unique, right? I have to unlearn some of the things that I have learned over the years as a researcher, who is so focused on just, the daily operations in the lab or in front of a computer. But this project has provided me an opportunity to really, think a little bit deeper into how I need to be working with the, farmers in our region, in our community, come alongside of them, and also be that lifetime learner. I'm learning from them as much as I'm, imparting or giving them some knowledge that I've learned over the years. So that, balancing those priorities sometimes could be challenging too in an academic setting. So that's one thing that I am trying to understand, to navigate. There are some responsibilities as a researcher that, that I have to accomplish. And so I'm trying to see how I can accomplish that best while I'm also trying to work with our farmers on this very important project, right? Balancing priorities. And also the time mismatch, the farming is all time-based, and then we're weather dependent. And so is all of the activities on campus at Central State University for me as a researcher. If I have to be engaging students in the lab, training them and providing them hands-on experiences. And so there is that time mismatch that, we like it or not, that I have to really, learn to address. And so those are some of the challenges. But this project has certainly given me a great opportunity to really work with our producers, especially in the small farm agricultural setting. If you look at the state of Ohio, we worked with farmers that are large farmers, but another key opportunity that I've gotten through this project is really working with this particular cluster, because the challenges are so different. The resources that are available for our farmers here in this cluster is very different than the farming community elsewhere in the state of Ohio. So those are some things. Even though I have a background in small farm agriculture, coming from my home country, or country of origin, but this is something that is I'm trying to learn here. in this landscape. So those are some of the opportunities that I've gotten through this project.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from all of you is the importance of partnership and actually co-creating the work that we're doing here, working together, researchers and farmers.
Definitely.
Side by side. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying too about ARPA, if they hadn't stepped in and helped us get on foot, and get the things rolling, and then that it really helped having the community, or David and Tia in particular, come over and help us out, Mm-hmm. So it is great when you can have some time and offer it to somebody who's new.
I just want to add that, I mentioned that we are already doing, cover crops and improving our soil. And but when I tell a farmer or I tell a person that my practices improve health, I'm giving what is called an antidote, because I am not a professor. So, and why many of us don't care. We don't care what the professor says, because for eons we've done these things. There are opportunities for sometimes funding, sometimes private, sometimes public, and they actually don't care about your antidote. They want to read a paper from this man over here that says this is true. So that is the opportunity that I see.
Brilliant. And one last big question for each of you before we turn it over to the audience for questions. And I'll start down this end, this side with Ms. Michelle. Why is your research interesting for the wider agricultural community, and also why is the fact that farmers are leading important for agricultural research?
Well, I think it gives us a voice in what we're doing, as well as trying to make sure that what we're producing is quality. I mean, we feed people in the public. We donate some of our produce. As we get into selling produce, we want to ensure that we're growing healthy, reliable food that we're selling, that we're donating in the community. So I think it's majorly important.
And for you, Sakti, similar kind of question, like what's the wider impact of this research from a scientific perspective?
Yeah, I can list a few. I would start by talking about the integration of science and experiential learning. So as a researcher, sometimes we're focused on setting up the experiments and collecting data, but then there is there's value in the experiential learning that can occur in a farmer-led coalition like this. That's what I'm focused on, right? Integrating the experiential learning and the experiences that the farmers are having and what we're seeing and observing on the farm with science is one thing that I can think of as a broader impact that can come out of this project. And the other thing is really narrowing the gap between research and practice, which is really building that trust among producers and farmers that, hey, when we are going to work with you, the data that we're generating and the new knowledge that we're going to be generating is going to be beneficial, and I don't know, it's not broadly true, but sometimes, adoption of some of the best management practices, conservation practices could be hindered if there is a lack of trust among the farming community saying, hey, I don't trust the data that is coming out of the research. So that building that trust has to start with authentic relationships with the producer. It's not just a distant relationship. I'm in a castle, I'm just doing my research, and then I'm lifting, the bridge and staying quiet in there, and there is no relationship with the producers. And that's something that has been important for me in particular in this project, is really working with the producers and farmers, right? Building that, bridging that gap. And then also for this project, I feel that through this farmer-led project, we're building that social cohesion that is really important. That community, you talked about that community among the producers. I believe that farmers would be adopting these practices faster if they're hearing from their, neighbors, and then so one way to achieve that is building a community like this, building that cohesion, social cohesion that is really important for extending the research, right? and for faster adoption. So those are some of the things, that comes to my mind.
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
Alex, if you had emailed me and said, "Do you want to participate in this project?" I would have said, "No, thank you. Have a nice day." Yep. But because Donnie emailed me and Donnie shows up for me, I was like, I got to show up for Donnie. So that community piece, I just wanted to bring that home. Like, that is actually the number one reason why I said yes to the project. Because a community member, another farmer, invited me to participate in this study. So just like the doctor said here, if someone says, he says, "Oh, you should practice this," and he's just up in his castle, they're like, "Who are you?" No, thank you. But if he comes with Donnie and they're both saying, "Yeah, we did this project together," then they're more apt to say, "Okay, well, what are you talking about again? Let me listen a little closer."
No, I want to go on that one. Donnie and I was like 1 degree away. I knew kind of who she was, but I didn't really know her. But Tia emailed me, okay? And I was in the hospital at the time. And she said, you need to be in this study, blah, blah, blah. And since Tia had been my instructor for 2 semesters at a fellowship, I was like, okay, I'll do it. So that's how that works, too.
But to piggyback on that, no, I think, we always talk about, especially in our community, in the Black community, how important representation is. And I have literally said to like a couple different classes and events that we've done, like, I go to places and it's me and Tia. Like, please come out and support your organizations. If you care about agriculture, we need to see you at agriculture events. Because we're not putting them on for ourselves. So that's where, representation is key. So we wanted to be, when they came and asked me, like, would you like to be the leader of the node? And I was like, okay, I got like 87 things. But no, it's important. It's important for us to be here. Because as we, like you said, the data that you're getting from our farms, you might not get from other farms. We don't have the same resources that other farms have. So if you're not coming to our community to get our data, then we're not counted. We're not a part of the results, right? So then how impactful is it on our community if none of our communities are included in the results that we... So yeah, it's very important. It's very important for all of us to be here. And it just so happens that all of the people that are doing this program are wonderful. That makes it even better. You haven't met Julie. She's on maternity leave. But we love her too. She shows up. I'm like, girl, you driving all over Ohio?
Yeah.
And you came out here to deliver some cover crop seed? And she's like, yeah, and I bought pizza. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it is a lot about representation, making sure that we are in the rooms. We can't expect other people to come into the room. We have to be there. So we're here. We want to be a part of the program. We want our data to matter. We want to show that our farmers, and I know for me personally, that we do farm. And not only do we farm, but we do research.
Right.
So one last thing I want to add is that wasn't a knock against OSU in your project, but it's just that for us, we are extremely busy.
Oh, yeah.
And to add another thing is a big deal for us. But if Donnie is saying, hey, I'm trying to kick this off, and all the things she just said about us being counted, then I'm like, yes, it's true. Yes.
And then I always go in like, I promise it's not going to add anything, or we're just going to do what you already been, to try to, because it is like farmers work all day long. Like it is a thing, like nonstop. So if I'm coming in and I'm asking you to do something, I'm definitely going to do my due diligence to, make sure it's a wonderful thing. But then I think just all of us as a whole, we bring, like Tia will be like, Donnie, I got this, so that's just kind of the way we work it's that community. So, of course, when I heard about this, I want our community to be a part of the community. We need to be here. So, okay, I'm done.
No, I hear you saying farmer voices matter. Farmer voices need to be at this table and...
Yes, and then I'm going to add this because this is where I meant to say earlier. So I've done research projects before, not a ton. I'm not like super research person. Don't Google me. But I've done research projects before, and typically it's like, oh, you want to be a part of the research project? This is what we are growing. This is when we need you to plant it. This is how you wanted to grow it. I don't care. We need this much space. So for this particular project, it was more like, well, what do you want to do? And you don't understand how hard that is sometimes when you're used to people telling you. So a lot of times Doug will be like, no, Donnie, what does your group want to do? And I'm like, I don't know what the group wants to do. But that was the beautiful thing about this. We had the opportunity to sit down as a group and be like, what do we want to do? And literally to have universities and research backing and supporting it, that is insane to me. Like just me as an individual person, I'm just like, this is amazing. And then we can have him like check the soil and see how much improvement we're doing. I get like a report with numbers, I'm going to put my logo on it. But that for me, that really is the shining star, I feel like, for this. Because if we wanted to do something else, we could have done that. If we decide that we want to change it later, I don't know. They might let us do it.
Oh, yes. We will have to talk about that later, ma'am. Yeah, our next meeting.
So, yeah, that was one for me. That was the big whoop whoop for this because you don't get that often. Normally it is, here, grow this. And then this is the kicker. If you're a beginning farmer like I am, you're like, what did I just sign myself up for? How am I supposed to grow? Do I got to see? And then there's like, who do you call? You can find people. But anyway, that was for me the shiny star. And then, like I said, just representation, our community, being a part of it is huge. And I'm going to stop talking now.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, Donnie. Opening it up to the floor now. Does anyone have questions for our panel?
They're like, no, Donnie told us everything. She was.
Well, maybe we can talk about this last question here, since nobody has any questions. Your question that you gave us is, I'm sorry. Oh, is there a question? Oh, okay. The last question was, why is your research interesting for other members of the agricultural community, and what can they learn from you?
Yeah.
Miss Michelle, do you?
Just sharing information and being supportive. I think that's one of the most important things. Because you guys are in Trotwood, and I'm in Butler County, so you're in Montgomery County, but I can always pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm having this issue with what I'm growing. What are you guys doing?
And thinking beyond this group, what can other types of farmers learn from the way you're leading this research or the way you're conducting yourselves as a group working together?
Okay, so I've always considered myself a placeholder for the next generation. I am a farmer, yes, but the whole thing with our land is to be a placeholder for the next generation, which means that I want people to be able to learn how to grow without this big learning curve that I had in a high tunnel, and just to come out and see how to do it and have the resources and know what to do. And I think that if I hadn't had this, I would have grown, but not like I'm growing now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's one of the things I think of.
Hi, my name is Lamont. I am getting ready to get into some indoor for February. Want some tips from you specialists?
As far as just regular growing, I would say plug into some of the incubator farming or fast track farming classes that Central State has to offer. Some things are online if you can't make it directly to the class. And then also you could talk to some of the extension educators like Alvin or Miss River if you need some specifics. And you can always email me. Everybody knows that. Email me if you have any specific questions. Thank you, Lamont. Anybody else?
Any other tips for Lamont?
No, actually, she covered, yeah. That's what I was going to say. I'm like, you need to connect.
So I just have a quick question. With all the data that you've collected, how is it being waterfalled to the communities that you guys serve? And what can we look forward to as far as being recipients of your overflow?
Dr. Kumaran, do you want to take that one first?
Let me rephrase that question. So how is the data being shared now among the farmers, right, in the group, and how it's going to be shared to the broader community after the project? So I'll start by saying this, right? Our goal, at least as a researcher, my goal is not just this project time frame, which is 5 years, right? The project is going to end. It's time based, but the relationships that I'm building with the producers or the farmers we have here, represented, and the broader community is what I'm going to take with me after this project. So some of the data that we're generating, that we have generated so far, is only the baseline data that we have to still collect. I think this is our second year-ish. And so we have collected the baseline data, and then we will be collecting more data in the coming years to see the changes the practices have made to the soil. And if they have not made any big difference, we would like to know why we're not seeing those differences in the practices. Can we explain that? Once that summarization is done at the end of the project, we will be presenting those materials and data through extension meetings or conferences or workshops that are for farmers or for scientists. And we are thinking about writing publications as well, and some fact sheets that might come out that will summarize all of the data that we have generated through this project. But it's not going to stop there. Again, that's one of the reasons why I said, to me personally, this is not just a 5-year project. I want it to be like a long-term study and interaction and relationship with the producers. We're going to continue to monitor some of the differences that we're going to be finding out in soil health properties. We may not be able to see that at the end of 3 years or 5-year time frame. Some of them takes time. So we want to be out there in the farm and collect soil samples and continue to monitor how the changes are occurring. And then through another pathway that comes to my mind is broadening this specialty crop community partnership, right? Right now we have 6 farmers. Is it possible for us to grow that into a larger network? Because in the state of Ohio, the soils are so varied. We have nearly about 400 plus soil types. Each one is going to behave differently when it comes to a certain practice, such as cover crop or something. So we need to understand those differences. So how can we broaden that? And so there will be more data collection coming through those partnerships as well beyond this project time frame. But yes, I think toward the end of the project, we will have a summary of all of the data that will be shared with the broader community.
And also, I just want to add also that I hope that this will become the model. So instead of researchers saying, oh, you know what, I'm thinking about this problem that I'm thinking about. They're not even a farmer, but they have, questions that in their mind they want to research. I hope the model would be that the researchers go to the farmer, like, what's going on on your land? What you have your conventional or organic crop grower, whatever. What is your problem? What should we be looking at to help you? And so I think that's what this project really is, like Donnie said, a special project that this could become the model.
And I would just quickly point out, we also have our communications specialist, Joseph, at the back of the room there. He'll also be helping push out data and stories about the project and things we're doing to the community. And as a group, we've also started talking about maybe some field days in the coming seasons and years as well, which would be great to get people involved with. Maybe we've got time for one quick fire question to end us. Or 2 if we can do it quickly. Let's go with 2 if we can get out quickly.
Hi. How has technology played a part in, have you been using technology at all? And if so, how has it played a part in your farming methods?
Yes, we do have one piece of technology which kind of sold me on the project, and that's our weather stations. That was like an extra, we're going to get a weather station? Okay, yeah. So we haven't gotten any of the data yet, but I'm really excited to get the data from the weather station. Do you want to talk about that, or I don't?
Yeah. So the weather station is one, certainly, and then also we're using technology in the back end when we are analyzing the soil samples, right? We're not only analyzing the soil samples using traditional methods. We have some advanced techniques that we could use to look at some of the nitty-gritty of the soil properties in the soil samples as we try to make sense out of the data that we're collecting. So the technology is on the back end. And then also, I use machine learning and AI to model the patterns that we see in the data set. So from your weather station all the way up to AI, we're using all of that in our research enterprise here. So does that answer your question?
Yes, I didn't know if there were more tools, but that sounds like a good use of technology. Yeah.
We haven't, on this project, we have not used any precision ag technologies yet on the farm, but that's something that we would look into in the future. On the small farm agriculture, that's another research gap, and that is a challenge, right? That the technologies that can be deployed in a large-scale farming is very different than the technology that can go into a small farm agriculture. So we're also trying to see if we can identify or develop technologies that can be implemented in small farm agriculture, right? We also partner with larger farms, and we have some drone-based sensing planned. We will be using remote sensors to collect data on the different soil properties, including soil carbon measurements using remotely sensed data, which I will be using in my lab. We're doing in my lab.
Final question.
Yes, a really quick question. So my question is, since there is a 5-year commitment to this, correct? And so in the midst of that 5 years, you're possibly extending it to other farmers. Will it be within the 5 years you're going to be adding other farmers to this to broaden it, to get more feedback, to more testing, and to be able to figure out different things?
Alex, you want to answer that?
Yeah, we have a limited number of farmers that we're hoping to grow organically. Hopefully this year is probably the last year that we can grow it to get a reasonable number of field seasons to capture the data. I know this group in particular has already approached a few more people to try and grow out this group of farmers to get a few more people involved. Unfortunately, because we are limited by our grant and limited by our resources, we would love to extend it more broadly and have nodes all over the state. But we're excited to get a few more farmers on board at this stage and work with them for the next 3 years.
And this is just for Ohio, correct?
We're working in Ohio and Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you ever so much, everybody. I really appreciate you staying to the end of the conference. We hope you've enjoyed the past 2 days, and that in particular you've enjoyed hearing about the From the Ground Up project and hearing from our farmer leaders here today. Please follow our project, follow our progress, talk to our farmer leaders, get in touch with them, and let us know if you have any questions in the future. Reach out, and we look forward to hearing from you, and follow us along.